The wailing Banshee. Every country seems to have its own version of ghouls and wraiths that seem to be embedded within their own unique psyche and lore. One such folklore that has entwined itself with very real accounts is the tale of the Irish spirit called the Banshee. It is a shrieking, horrific entity that one would not want to meet, and by all accounts it seems to be far from confined to mere myth and legend. The word Banshee comes from Old Irish, roughly meaning fairy woman or woman of the fairy mound, and describes a sinister female spirit known to herald the approach of death through her unearthly screaming, sobbing, wailing or keening. In Irish lore, the Banshee are always female but can take many forms. In some tales she is depicted as a filthy old hag, whereas in others she is conversely said to appear as a young maiden of exceptional beauty. Others state that she is more animalistic or monstrous, with the head of a bird or hare. One old description of a Banshee sighting reads, "It was a woman of no earthly type, with an odd-shaped, gleaming face and a mass of red hair, and eyes that would have been beautiful but not for her expression, which was hellish. She had on a green hood, after the fashion of an Irish peasant. The clothing, eye colour and hair differ depending on the tale, and likewise the size of the Banshee can range wildly, from a towering 8 feet or down to a mere 3 or 4 feet. Yet, no matter what form she takes, she is always considered to be a grim harbinger of imminent death, piercing the night with her ominous howls. Of course, all this sounds like scary stories confined to lore, but there have actually been numerous accounts of real encounters with the wailing Banshee, or at least something very much like it, going all the way up to modern times. One popular account from a witness says her family was haunted by a Banshee when she was a young girl in Ireland, and that it would follow her into the present day. It had started one day when her grandfather had fallen ill, and a very strange visitor had come knocking.
As a child, I remember my grandmother telling me that my grandfather had taken ill in the back room of their house. She was attending him when she heard a loud banging on the front door and left my grandfather to go and answer it. She told me that as she approached the door, she could hear a sobbing noise coming from outside, but on opening the door, there was no one on the other side. She immediately went back to my grandfather, finding him stone dead in the bed. Fast forward a couple of years, and I was in my grandmother's house. She had only been given a few days to live, and my father thought it was a good idea to come out and say my last goodbyes. Unfortunately, she was going through a slow, painful death. I remember going to her bedroom and feeling very cold. I knew that the few days were more realistically a matter of hours at the most. As my grandmother's breathing became shallow, my dad said it was probably better that I sit in the front room. While I was sat there, I heard a knock on the door. As I approached the door, I could hear crying. I touched the lock to open the door, and I suddenly felt a chill down my spine. There was no one there. Almost instantaneously, I heard a mixture of prayers and sobbing coming from the back room. I knew my grandmother was gone. As I closed the door, I saw a glimpse of what can only be described as a tall, thin woman sitting crying on the neighbour's wall. The experience has stayed with me forever.
An interesting part of the Banshee lore is that they are not necessarily confined to Ireland, and that they may follow families across the globe. There have been reports of Banshees following Irish families in the US, UK and Australia. Is this all just spooky lore, or is there something else to it? Do these wailing spirits from Irish folklore exist beyond the confines of legend? Or do they occasionally stalk out of the darkness to frighten and terrify? Whatever the answers may be, The Banshee has a prominent place in the beliefs of many people and is ingrained within the paranormal landscape.